Hello, welcome to the channel, 12-Step Guide with Troy O. Today we are going to continue on step 8 and 9 in the Alcoholics Anonymous material. 2 videos ago we started in the book Alcoholics Anonymous. The way the original author, Bill W., wrote it, he took 8 and 9 together. I wanted to teach just 8. We read just the first paragraph. And then last video, we went to the step book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Book came out later. And we reviewed step 8 there. Now we're coming back to the big book, Alcoholics Anonymous, and we're going to take on step 8 and 9. More specifically, the second half of step 8 and step 9. Now, in a meeting, we would either go to a big book reading where we'd read and talk about it, and we'd cover 8 and 9 at the same time, or another type of meeting, the step meeting, we'd read 8 and talk about it. There's other meetings, speaker meetings and discussion, whatever. So I'm teaching this in a way that combines the material as Bill released the first book, then later released the second book, and I really wanted to understand his words and how that fit in. So before I get started any further today, what is step 8 and 9 in Alcoholics Anonymous? Step 8 made a list of all persons we had harmed, and became willing to make amends to them all. So previous to this, we covered really the first half mostly, made a list of all persons we had harmed. Today, we're going to pick up on and became willing to make amends to them all. But it's combined with step 9. These run hand in hand, and we'll learn more about this as I progress. Step 9 made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. So what I want to do is get right into the reading. I'm going to start at the first paragraph. It's very short. So this is going to be chapter 6, Into Action. In the original version, it was page 88, but yours might be around page 76. And you'll know where it begins. It's in italics, where it will say, let's look at steps 8 and 9. But the sentence just before that, I'm going to begin there. Now, we need more action, without which we find that faith without works is dead. What's another way to say that? Half measures avail us nothing. Let's look at steps 8 and 9. We have a list of all persons we have harmed and to whom we are willing to make amends. We covered that before. You already have a list. We covered it in great detail. Very important information. If you haven't seen those videos and don't understand what I'm saying, go back and review those. We made it when we took inventory. So this list began in step 4. We subjected ourselves to a drastic self-appraisal. So now here's where the second half of step 8 begins and step 9. Now we go out to our fellows and repair the damage done in the past. We attempt to sweep away the debris, the damage, which has accumulated built up out of our efforts to live on self-will and run the show ourselves. If we haven't the will, now this is about building willpower. In the first half of step 8, some will would begin as you evaluate your list and develop it. But now we're going to really confront the will directly. Understand the first half of step 8. It's internal. It's us understanding it ourselves. The second half of step 8, this building willingness, that's more outward, kind of considering when, who, and how we might make this list. So if we haven't the will to do this, we ask until it comes. And this is a very important sentence, this next sentence. We touched on this before. I want to get into it more this time. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning. And this next piece is in italics. It's very important information. So it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. And I had touched on the last time, I believe that's when you accepted your problem and became willing to do something about it. Acceptance. But more than that, do you understand what he's saying here? Let's go find what he means and review the language that might have existed there for further content about that. It was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. So, we go back to the beginning of chapter 5. Those of you who have attended AA meetings, it might begin in a familiar way at the beginning of the meeting. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Now, I'm going to jump down a little bit. Our stories disclose in a general way. This is basically the book, how the book was written, some of the book, what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. Often, even if I was speaking in a speaker meeting, I'd kind of cover it that way, what it used to be like, what happened, and what it's like now. Simple enough concept. Now, if you have decided you want what we have you decided that? Do you want to get sober and stay sober and live a fairly happy life? Well, if you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, there's that language, and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Have you made that decision? Are you willing to go to any lengths to get it? You might get controversial information from other people, even at a meeting, that maybe aren't willing or confused, aren't really interested in doing the steps. Now, I want you to listen to some of what the words are here, coming from Bill in the first 100. At some of these we balked. Yeah, we don't want to do it. Some of this stuff's tough. We don't want to look at this stuff. We thought we could find an easier, softer way. Maybe after a relapse or two you find you can't. But we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, here's some real language here. We beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Do you understand? Bill Wilson is literally saying he is begging you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. If you want this program, it's better for all of us if an alcoholic gets sober. In the family, And if you really want this program, don't dilly-dally. Don't listen to the ones that aren't interested in doing it. There's a real way to do it. The quicker you get started, the better your life and those around you. So we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to old ideas, and the results was nil until we let go absolutely. I'm going to read a little more just to get some real clarity about what he's saying, because this is what he's saying there. Remember that we deal with alcohol. In this case, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. There's other issues out there, other people that could relate to some translations. It's cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, for the alcoholic. But there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. And, in my mind, that's something exceeding all human power. It's something above all humans. Humans are fallible. It's something must be above it. Half measures avail us nothing. What's another way to say that? Faith without works is dead. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which is suggested as a program of recovery. My goodness, and what does it begin with? Step 1. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. And that evolves as you evolve, as you get on the steps. It evolves. It gets stronger. It gets deeper. It may not appear that way off the bat. So I hope you found that helpful. We're going to come back to the reading now. This would be page 89 in the original version. One final thought. Remember, it was agreed at the beginning we would go to any lengths for victory over alcohol. If you have an alcoholic in your life and you're hearing this message and you conclude or believe that they're not quite understanding that, help them with it. There's ways to help them get on track. Anyone. You don't have to be an alcoholic to understand this message and to help them be on track with it. It's better for everyone. Moving on. Probably there are still some misgivings, some doubt, some reservation, maybe some apprehension. As we look over the list of business acquaintances and friends we have hurt, we may feel diffident, shy, or unconfident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. So we're going to cover some different ideas here, some examples, some information, things that the first 100 had been through and reasoned some things out to help you reason some things out. Let us be reassured. To some people, we need not. To some people, you don't have to mention spirituality at all. And probably should not emphasize, probably shouldn't stress or reveal the spiritual feature on our first approach. We might prejudice them. It's possible their ears could close. At the moment, we are trying to put our lives in order. But this is not an end in itself. Our real purpose is to reform ourselves to be of maximum service to God and the people about us. So it's going to require some change and some personality. Me first, screw everybody else, is going to have to go, for example. Now, in another 12-step program, maybe something else is going to have to go, and it can be a surprise to you when you learn of it. How do these things keep happening? Is it maybe a potential question of many? It is seldom wise to approach an individual, rarely wise to, who's still smart, who's still pissed off from our injustice to him or her or them, and announce that we have gone religious. In the prize ring, this would be called leading with the chin. Go ahead, hit me. It's a bad way to start. We lay ourselves open to being branded fanatics. That's what can happen. Or religious bores. So what's a religious bore? Yeah, somebody who forces a religious perspective into an unrelated conversation. Doesn't quite fit, but they're trying to make it fit. We may kill a future opportunity. You don't want to destroy a later opportunity. So we may kill a future opportunity to carry a beneficial message. But our man, and mostly much was written in man, so certainly our woman, is sure to be impressed with a sincere desire to set right the wrong. No matter who, they're likely going to be impressed with that concept that you're trying to make things right. He is going to be more interested in a demonstration of goodwill than in our talk of spiritual discoveries. You're going to pay attention to our actions, not necessarily what's coming out our mouth. We don't use this as an excuse for shying away from the subject of God when it will serve any good purpose. We are willing to announce our convictions with tact and common sense. Truly, we're learning how to think for ourselves, or at least not let the alcohol do the thinking for us, or some other character defects, sex desire, selfishness, jealousy, and prejudice even. The question of how to approach the man we hated will arise. It may be he has done us more harm than we have done him, and though we may have acquired a better attitude toward him, we are still not too keen about admitting our faults. Might feel a little vulnerable there. Nevertheless, with a person we dislike, we take the bit in our teeth. So taking the bit in your teeth might hurt a little bit, something to bite on, for example. It is harder to go to an enemy than a friend. That's their experience. Sounds reasonable. But we find it much more beneficial to us. We go to him in a helpful and forgiving spirit. Now, there's some willingness going on there, a lot of it. Confessing our former ill feeling. Confessing what and why. And expressing our regret. So we're going to get honest somewhat. We'll use a filter. Under no conditions do we criticize such a person or argue. Simply we tell him that we will never get over drinking until we have done our utmost, done our best to straighten out the past. We are there to sweep off our side of the street, realizing that nothing worthwhile can be accomplished until we do so. Never trying to tell him what he should do. His faults are not discussed. We stick to our own. If our manner is calm, frank, and open, we will be gratified, we'll be happy with the result. Next paragraph. In 9 cases out of 10, the unexpected happens. 9 cases out of 10, but not always. Don't go in expecting it. You might get a rude awakening. Sometimes the man we are calling upon admits his own fault. So feuds of years standing melt away in an hour. Sometimes they meet you halfway. Rarely do we fail to make satisfactory progress. In most cases, we make progress. Our former enemies sometimes praise what we are doing and wish us well. Occasionally, they will offer assistance. It should not matter, however, if someone does throw us out of his office. Hey, it could happen. They might not be able to hear your apology. We have made our demonstration, done our part. It's water over the dam. You can only do what you can do, and if you've done the best you can, you might need to just leave it at that and move on. Most alcoholics owe money. We do not dodge our creditors. Telling them what we are trying to do, we make no bones about our drinking. Don't hide the seriousness of it. They usually know it anyway, whether we think so or not. Now, there's been some evolution in society and the internet and all that business, but you get the idea. Nor are we afraid of disclosing our alcoholism on the theory it may cause financial harm. Approached in this way, the most ruthless creditor will sometimes surprise us. Arranging the best deal we can, we're entering into honest negotiation. You got to start somewhere. We let these people know we are sorry. It's a good beginning. Our drinking has made us slow to pay. At least we can identify a reason and start from there. We must lose our fear of creditors no matter how far we have to go, for we are liable to drink if we are afraid to face them. There's the risk. If you're not dealing with this stuff, the odds of drinking are considerable. Why do you think there's so much relapse in Alcoholics Anonymous? People not doing the steps. Perhaps we have committed a criminal offense which might land us in jail if known to the authorities. We may be short in our accounts and unable to make good. We have already admitted this in confidence to another person. So this is presupposing we've done a step 5 and we understand some of this stuff with a person we trust. We're kind of beginning to understand this stuff. Nothing's that simple and clean in this area, and the better you understand and can sift through it, the better the outcome generally. So, confidence in another person, but we are sure we would be imprisoned or lose our job if it were known. So you could confront a situation where you know you've done wrong and you know that you'll go to jail if you disclose it. Maybe it's only a petty offense such as padding the expense account. Most of us have done that sort of thing. Maybe we are divorced and have remarried, but haven't kept up the alimony to number one. She is indignant, angry about it, and maybe has a warrant out for our arrest. That's a common form of trouble, too. Now we're building up here to reasoning out some of this stuff. These are different ideas. Nothing conclusive here. It's just some ideas of different ways we might have had problems. Although these reparations, these repairs, take innumerable forms, many, the possibilities, there are some general principles which we find guiding. So yes, there's a lot of issues out there, but there's some guiding principles that they wish to suggest here to help. Reminding ourselves that we have decided to go to any lengths to find a spiritual experience or a spiritual awakening. We ask that we be given strength and direction to do the right thing. What is the right thing? Now, that isn't always an easy answer. There's a lot of factors to that. Life ain't perfect, and this step ain't going to lead you to a perfect outcome always, if mostly. So we're asking for direction to do the right thing. Now, this also requires some faith, maybe some trust in the higher power in the process. So the right thing, no matter what the personal consequences may be, there's more to factor in than just our personal consequences. We may lose our position or reputation or face jail, but are willing. We have to be. We must not shrink. Don't run away from. We must not shrink at anything. Now, many people come into the program pretty well knowing they're already probably going to jail, or might be. It's often, or they've been in jail already. It's often what may lead people into the program. I just want some honesty there. Oh, I got sober and then had to go to jail. You might be going there either way. Life. Improving your life, getting better. It's got to start somewhere. In your outlook on life, it's incredible how much it can change. Or without it, without that willingness, that direction, just how shrunken you may feel. A lot of different examples out there. Everybody doesn't confront that. There's other 12-step programs, but how you feel internally and how you're facing life and some of those personal consequences matter. So if you can't relate to this, what can you relate to, for example? Now, this next piece of information, we're going to factor this in now. We're still considering different areas. Nothing conclusive. Usually, however, other people are involved. We're going to want to factor in those people also. What is the right thing? Therefore, we are not to be the hasty and foolish martyr who would needlessly sacrifice others to save himself from the alcoholic pit. And we also don't want to martyr ourselves, put ourselves do stupid or hasty things when maybe there was a better avenue for all involved. So here's an example. A man we know had remarried because of resentment and drinking. Because of resentment and drinking, not just drinking, this resentment factored in. He had not paid alimony to his first wife. She was furious. She was right pissed off. She went to court and got an order for his arrest. He had begun our way of life, that 12-step way of life, had secured a position, got himself a job. Next page. And was getting his head above water. He was starting to get his life together. It would have been impressive heroics if he had walked up to the judge and said, "Here I am." Right to jail, fill the warrant. We thought he ought to be willing to do that if necessary. But if he were in jail, he could provide nothing for either family. What is the right thing? We suggested he write his first wife admitting his faults and asking forgiveness. Because what did she want, and why was she angry? He did, and also sent a small amount of money. He sent a small amount of money. Now, a side note, anytime you're exchanging money to satisfy some sort of a debt at all, always document your payment. A check, money order, receipt. Just a side note that I suggest. So he sent a small amount of money. He told her what he would try to do in the future. He said he was perfectly willing to go to jail if she insisted. Of course, she did not. And the whole situation has long since been adjusted. He got his life together and has started to honor these past debts. Before taking drastic action which might implicate other people, might involve other people, we secure their consent. Whatever you've been doing when you was drinking and all, but just throwing them under the bus to make yourself feel better, it could result in relapse. You might find that it doesn't make you feel better. You secure their consent, you understand what you're trying to do, talk it out with your sponsor. If we have obtained permission, have consulted with others, asked God to help, and the drastic step is indicated, we must not shrink. So if that's truly the direction, then face it head on. Don't shy away or run away from it. But know you've reasoned it out. This brings to mind a story about one of our friends. While drinking, he accepted a sum of money from a bitterly hated business rival, giving him no receipt for it. Always get a receipt. He subsequently, later on, denied having received the money and used the incident as a basis for discrediting the man. So the man's reputation was ruined because of this. This drunk didn't want to pay, so instead he discredited the other one. Drank it up for a while, but at some point maybe it adds up. He thus used his own wrongdoing as a means of destroying the reputation of another. In fact, his rival was ruined. He felt he had done a wrong he could not possibly make right. If he opened that old affair, He was afraid it would destroy the reputation of his partner, disgrace his family, and take away his means of livelihood. What right had he to involve those dependent upon him? Question. How could he possibly make a public statement exonerating his rival? How could he make a statement showing that this person he injured was in the right? He wasn't lying after all. And this is one example back in 1939. Now things have changed some, and there's a whole different ways of confronting things. This is going to be one example. After consulting with his wife and partner, he came to the conclusion that it was better to take those risks than to stand before his Creator guilty of such ruinous slander. And maybe he wouldn't be able to live with it and would relapse again and again. Be angry, restless, irritable, discontent, that kind of stuff. He saw that he had to place the outcome in God's hands, or he would soon start drinking again, and all would be lost anyhow. In this example, he attended church for the first time in many years. After the sermon, he quietly got up and made an explanation. His action met widespread approval, and today he is one of the most trusted citizens of his town. This all happened 3 years ago. Again, this is one example. The greater context here is we start somewhere. Yes, it's difficult starting at the bottom, but if you start and you do your best to be honest, sincere, make right what you can, and you build on that again and again, you become a different person. People see you as a different person. Those pains of the past weren't for nothing. They become high value so that you can use them in the future to help others who may have suffered from similar things. The chances are that we have domestic troubles at home. Perhaps we are mixed up with women in a fashion we wouldn't care to have advertised. It's more than just trouble at home, but in your personal life. We doubt if, in this respect, alcoholics are fundamentally, in general, much worse than other people. So what's going on here? We're talking about sex desire. That's intoxicating. It's guiding. It's confusing. This sex desire, and it has shaped us from youth and influences our decisions and our actions. It can be a wonderful thing, but it can also cause us problems that we otherwise maybe wouldn't have had. We can be confused morally. Say we got some sex desires down some avenue that conflicts our moral or religious components, for example. It even survives alcoholism, drunkenness. What I mean, you see somebody laying on the floor so drunk they can't stand out, yelling out, say, hey baby, and all that foolishness. It's a very powerful, intoxicating area, and you don't need alcohol to get messed up in it. That's all. It's a very powerful example, so you don't have to be alcoholic to understand that concept. But drinking does complicate sex relations in the home. After a few years with an alcoholic, in this case a wife gets worn out, resentful, and uncommunicative. They're not talking anymore. How could she be anything else? The husband begins to feel lonely, sorry for himself, or the wife, or domestic partners, or unmarried people, whoever, whatever, in some relationship. He commences to look around in the nightclubs, or their equivalent, for something besides liquor. Perhaps he is having a secret and exciting affair with the girl who understands. In fairness, we must say that she may understand. But what are we going to do about a thing like that? A man so involved often feels very remorseful at times. If you're any kind of a decent human and the person who you're sharing your life with, you care about, you're going to have some bad feelings. Especially if he is married to a loyal and courageous girl who has literally gone through hell for him. Makes it even worse when you have someone credible in your life. So just for clarity, 1939, it was written, you've been out cheating, and now you want to make it right. What is the right thing to do? That's a different question than how can you relieve yourself of your guilt? And that's a very important distinction. So they have some suggestions that they have kind of encountered from back then. There's nothing new here in this equation. It's been happening probably since the beginning of the human race. Whatever the situation, we usually have to do something about it. If we are sure our wife doesn't know we've been out cheating or have cheated, should we tell her or him? Not always, we think. If she knows in a general way that we have been wild, should we tell her in detail? They're two different questions. If they don't suspect and didn't know, over they suspected and you'd maybe in the past been saying no, 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 and their intuition's distorted, for example. Either way, let's move on. Undoubtedly, we should admit our fault. So in the second equation, where you reasonably believe they do know, you probably should admit your fault to restore their intuition. At minimum, she may insist on knowing all the particulars. This is a different question. She will want to know who the woman is and where she is. Now, why might she want to know that, or he, is a question that you might need to answer. We feel we ought to say to her that we have no right to involve another person. Now, there's legitimate concerns. Is it going to happen again? Is it someone you work with, for example? Is there a real threat of it happening again, or is it in fact over? But sharing those particulars, who and what, where and why, that's just fuel to the fire of anger, potentially. Moving on. We are sorry for what we have done, and God willing, it should not be repeated. More than that, we cannot do. We have no right to go further, to implicate others in our sin, our misgivings, our cheating, than to bring others in maybe others have a family that could be injured also. And why? To relieve our guilt, or to because they ask? Really requires some strong thought and having a good sponsor, counselor, clergy, things like that. What is the right thing? The right thing isn't always the easiest thing, that's for certain. Though there may be justifiable exceptions, and though we wish to lay down no rule of any sort, that just trying to make some suggestions here, we have often found this the best course of action. So they're just doing their best to get you to think about it. Our design for living is not a one-way street. It is as good for the wife as for the husband. If we can forget, and so can she. It is better, however, that one does not needlessly name a person upon whom she can vent jealousy. Again, or make matters worse, matters for the other party involved. Perhaps there are some cases where the utmost frankness is demanded. No outsider can appraise. We can't really evaluate such an intimate situation. It comes down to you and them. It may be both will decide that the way of good sense and loving kindness is to let bygones be bygones. Hopefully you can both let it go. Each might pray about it, having the other one's happiness uppermost in mind. Keep it always in sight that we deal with that most terrible human emotion, jealousy. Very powerful, very powerful. I covered the strength of that, the sex relations earlier, and you throw jealousy in that. It's one of the, what we call a deadly sin. People kill over it. We want to avoid that. Good generalship. It's a military term. Good leadership may decide that the problem be attacked on the flank, a less challenged area, rather than risk a face-to-face combat. You take it head on, you provide too much information, and it's just developing this war. So finding a way to not do that, but to make it right, and certainly stop the behavior. Should we have no such complication, there is plenty we should do at home. Everybody wasn't out cheating. It's not an issue for everyone. Sometimes we hear an alcoholic say that the only thing he needs to do is to keep sober. Certainly, he must keep sober, for there will be no home if he doesn't. But he is yet a long way from making good to the wife or parents whom for years he has so shockingly treated, or she. Passing all understanding, being tolerant, they were being tolerant, these mothers and wives or lovers, whoever. Passing all understanding is the patience mothers and wives have had with alcoholics. We've gotten away with plenty. Had this not been so, many of us would have no homes today, would perhaps be dead. The alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Hearts are broken. Sweet relationships are dead. Affections have been uprooted. Selfish and inconsiderate, and we know those come up in our 4-step list where we've been selfish and considerate. Selfish and inconsiderate habits have kept the home in turmoil, kept it in disarray. We feel a man is unthinking. He's in denial when he says that sobriety is enough. He is an example now where sobriety is enough. Is that right? He is like the farmer who came up out of his cyclone cellar to find his home ruined. To his wife, he remarked, "Don't see anything the matter here, Ma. Ain't it grand the wind stopped blowing?" You tore your whole house apart and the tornado came through, blew it all apart, and there's nothing to see here? The elephant in the living room, nobody comments. All the damage and destruction, and all you got to do is just stay sober. And I'll tell you, if you're not doing the steps, it's easy. Just stay on step 1 in a year, go to the next meeting and just talk about your own little problem for the day. Well, that's important, but largely this deeper stuff is happening in the steps outside of the meeting. And also, when in the meeting they suggest you keep the focus on yourself, you keep the focus on your life, not counseling others in the meeting, suggesting what they should do. The chairperson would shut you down for that. If you have something credible to offer someone after the meeting, I mean, conversations happen, but keeping the focus on yourself, on your life, the steps is intended to help you in your life. It's important stuff. Putting it off, just staying stuck on step 1, doesn't resolve these things. And it really risks relapse, and it doesn't set in motion natural events that would help you see things differently that are very difficult to see otherwise. It's just this wall up. You have to take that wall down or tear it down, and that takes some effort. That's been my experience, and I have been able to see what happened because I wasn't exposed to them and how otherwise I would have encountered people, places, things, and situations better that I just didn't see because I didn't understand. So hopefully this is helpful to you. Yes, there is a long period of reconstruction ahead. We must take the lead. We take the lead. We led this problem in. Our alcoholism, right? We were leading the problem in. Well, take the lead out. A remorseful mumbling that we are sorry won't fill the bill at all. We ought to sit down with the family and frankly analyze the past as we now see it, being very careful not to criticize them. Now, step 5 involving the sponsor. Certainly there's things that can come up anytime that seems right and you can make an amendment and get things squared up. There's easy low-lying fruit, if you will, but some other complicated things, you don't spoil later opportunity, but it's better if we can address these things. And they may be smarting in the background, pissed off because you're not. You may not realize it, and they may not realize it, but it's showing up somehow. Their defects may be glaring, but the chances are that our own actions are partly responsible. It's likely that we helped set things in motion. So we clean house with the family, asking each morning in meditation that our Creator show us the way of patience, tolerance, kindness, and love. Now, we're going to get into that. Bill has just introduced step 11, diverting some of that energy in the morning. It's a mindset, focusing on love, patience, tolerance, rather than things that might develop in the day that drive us ego and pride and pain and greed and whatever it might be. In the morning, to process some of this energy. So, a little touch on step 11. The spiritual life is not a theory. We have to live it. That's in italics. Very important piece of the program. Unless one's family expresses a desire to live upon spiritual principles, we think we ought not urge them, so we need to live it. That doesn't mean everybody's got to live it with us. We should not talk incessantly, not constantly, to them about spiritual matters. They will change in time. Our behavior will convince them more than our words. They will far better understand the spiritual progress, the spiritual components, and just how immense and valuable those gains can be, and trust them through our actions and behaviors and successes over time. Throw out a few spiritual ideas and then go back to drinking. What's that? Change your behavior and others will see it, and they'll be interested in what you have. We must remember that 10 or 20 years of drunkenness would make a skeptic out of anyone. So there was a range. There may be some wrongs we can never fully right. It's the next paragraph. We don't worry about them if we can honestly say to ourselves that we would right them if we could. There's a serious amount of honesty here. There's a lot of work that's been done to get to that place. And let me invite the word miracle here. Don't underestimate the possibilities of ways that things could be made right in time. Some people cannot be seen. We send them an honest letter, and there may be a valid reason for postponement in some cases. But we don't delay if it can be avoided. We don't delay if it can be avoided. This is happening early on, or at least it was for Bill in the first 100. Is it happening early on for you? How's your sobriety? How's your family? How's your life? You all set? Could it be better? Maybe a lot better? Do you even know? We should be sensible, tactful, and considerate, and humble, without being servile or scraping, without being a servant or excessive in it or scraping the bottom. We're going to do our best, sensible, tactful, considerate, and humble. But we're not going to suck bottom. As God's people, we stand on our feet. We don't crawl before anyone. Now, this next part I'm going to read, it's very important. It's called the 9-Step Promises. I know many people heard them in the meeting as this part of the chapter. Oftentimes others would read along. And hopefully these videos are helping you understand so that you can achieve this much deeper, sooner. If we are painstaking, if we're very careful, if we're meticulous about this phase, this stage, this part of our development, we will be amazed before half through. Now, in the newer version, it's we will be amazed before we are halfway through. So what's being said here? We will be amazed before we're halfway through on step 9, making amends. So these promises are really tied to us repairing the record. It isn't just tied to us going to meetings and snibbling about our latest little issue. It's really repairing our lives and the people we have affected, in addition to snibbling about the latest little thing, because maybe there's a lot of them, and trying to stay sober, and the meetings are very important. I went to 2 a day and snibbled plenty about stuff and listened to others and tried to sort things out, and and the gains happened, but understanding the steps, unfortunately, was elusive. I could have done much more at home and with my sponsor, is all I'm saying. So if we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before half through. We are going to know a new freedom and happiness. We will not regret the past, no wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity and know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. It doesn't all have to be for nothing. All of that garbage that I went through, it isn't for nothing. Here I am, hopefully helping make a difference for someone else. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things. That's very important. I've heard so many people back in the day say, oh, it's a selfish program. No, it is not. It's a selfless program. So we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. We replace me first, screw everybody else with caring about the human race. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know. Intuition, I've spoken a lot about that. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us, which used to just be so confusing to us, we had no clue. It overwhelmed us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Maybe there's some miracles along the way. They come in unique ways. You don't have a job and you're going to meetings, and next thing somebody alerts you to a job or a better job. It's happened to me. So, are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize. They will always begin to happen if we work for them. Now, what do you think the holdup is with the time frame? Are you taking your program seriously, doing the steps, doing what you can, going to enough meetings, talking to your sponsor? Meetings are very important. Now, along the way, I've talked about AA, and some people miss this and that, but that doesn't mean don't go. Life is complicated, right? And everybody's not perfect. I've said it before. You get the story straight in your head. Maybe you can come in and you can be a clearer guide for someone else that would like to know. I wanted to know, and if someone could have helped me with this stuff, my goodness, it would have been so helpful. And it was 8 years before I really got serious direction, unfortunately. But that doesn't have to be the story for you. It can be now, immediately, first time out. Just look over the videos and see what's being said, see what Bill was saying. It's understanding it. it's your choice. You get to choose how you'd like to proceed and the recovery you want. Hopefully, I have provided you along the way good information so that you can make good choices and get sober and stay sober and live a content life. From here, we are going to the step book, and we are going to look at step 9, what Bill wrote in step 9, and further understand that step 9. And also, after we have fully heard from Bill on step 9, I'm going to read a short amount out of what I wrote in 98 in step 8 and 9. I believe that I have a little bit of information that can be helpful, and we'll see where my mind was at in 98. So I hope you have a good day. Thank you.
If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified when new content is added. Also, you can support the channel 12-Step Guide with Troyo by donating through PayPal to hsworldservice@yahoo.com. In this video, we unpack steps 8 and 9 together as they were combined in the Big Book. We are inspired by the 9-step promises, and the willingness we developed in step 8 is the foundation of a successful step 9. We are now finalizing what we might say to those we have harmed and the details of how, where, and when. We also manage our expectations of how we might be received and plan for repayment where appropriate. In step 8, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. In step 9, we made direct amends to such people wherever possible except when to do so would injure them or others. We will want to consider step 9 further in the step book for final pieces of a strong and well thought out step 9, in which we are mindful to not cause any additional harm.